Welcome back to Destination Earth Guides. My name is Campbell Kerr, and today I'm going to be talking to you about all of the do's and don'ts for visiting the North Coast 500 road trip in Scotland that you need to know in order to plan the adventure of a lifetime. As you guys may know, over on our main channel, Highlands to Hammocks, Gemma and I have documented a lot of our adventures up in the north coast of Scotland. During our production of our very own guidebook, Destination NC500, we spent over 6 months touring the route, living in our little home on wheels, Ellie the eldest, and turning over every single rock that we could find to make sure we didn't miss a single detail for that guidebook. During this process, you might just say we learned quite a few do's about the route, as well as quite a few don'ts as well. And today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the do's and don'ts that we have learned in order for you to plan your own adventure of a lifetime. Before I get into that though, if you are planning your very own trip to the NC500, then make sure you check out our comprehensive travel guide, Destination NC500, showcasing over 110 of the best sites along the route, as well as accommodation options such as hotels, campsites, Airbnbs, and all of the camper van and electrical vehicle facilities that you will need for your own adventure of a lifetime. It will be sure to make your planning process an absolute breeze, but for now let's get stuck straight into the do's and don'ts of the NC500. First up is planning your journey. Having even a rough plan of your route, destinations and things you want to do and see is a very good idea. On our trip we had a rough plan of where we wanted to stop each day, as well as what we wanted to film, but of course factored in enough time to be flexible in case we wanted to change the plan slightly. This of course allowed us to be more spontaneous whilst having some structure, and it worked out very well. This paired with our next one, don't rush your journey, means that we would suggest at least having 1 full week in order to do the North Coast 500 and ensure that you've got enough time to see everything that you want to see. There is literally so much to see and do along the route, and you don't want to feel like you're being rushed or missing things out that you would potentially want to experience. As I said, we spent about 6 months touring the route and the Isle of Skye. However, I would say make sure you have at least 1 week, but we would recommend 2 in order to ensure that you have a nice relaxed trip that you can fully enjoy without feeling burnt out by the end of it. We would also suggest starting your days pretty early, as their sunrises in Scotland can be absolutely spectacular. The North Coast 500 can get very busy, and there's a lot of single track roads that can become slow and tedious to drive if you wait until the busiest time of day. Getting up and hitting the road early will ensure that you reach your destination before the crowds arrive, and will result in a much more pleasant experience about your day. We started most days about 6 AM and even sometimes woke up at 5 AM if we thought it was going to be a fantastic sunrise. And this of course meant that we were the first people to some of the most popular sites, such as the Dinkasby Stacks and the Wailing Widow Falls. And of course from a photography standpoint, this was much better as we had the place all to ourselves, and who doesn't love a good sunrise? We would also suggest not arriving at your destination too late, because you're going to be starting your days off pretty early. Ideally you'd want to be well rested, and that means a decent night's sleep, which you won't get if you're arriving late and there's nowhere to pitch up for the night. Arriving at your final destination early means you can relax, perhaps enjoy a barbecue and a beer on the beach whilst watching the sun go down and looking forward to the day ahead. It is highly recommended that you of course book any accommodation, including campsites, well in advance. Even if you're planning on wild camping around the route, we would suggest getting a hotel or a B&B for a few nights of the trip, or even just staying on a campsite, as it means that you can recharge, dispose of any waste that you've been accumulating, and maybe get a good couple of nights sleep in a nice comfortable bed. This will give you a chance to feel refreshed, recharged, and if you're into photography, it'll also give you a chance to recharge any of your batteries that you've got. If you're planning on car camping around the route, then a couple of nights in the car doesn't hurt. However, unless you've got a motorhome or a decked out camper, sleeping in the boot of your car is likely to become a little bit of a chore. The lack of any washing facilities or toilet can be pretty tiring eventually, and of course weather dependent. If you're like us, when you visit the Isle of Skye in winter, we ended up sleeping in our Corsa for the night, and our car got absolutely battered by the storms. Again, we would suggest maybe booking into a hotel or a B&B every couple of nights just to give yourself a little bit of rest, and of course to also support the local economy. Although the NC500 is a road trip, you sell yourself short if all you did was sit in the car all day and drive from destination to destination. Of course, if that's what you want to do, then that's your choice, but the beauty of being in the Scottish Highlands is the abundance of wildlife just waiting for you to reconnect with. You don't have to climb a mountain or do anything adventurous like going in the sea for a wild duck, but we would highly recommend getting off the beaten track and going out into nature and really making the most of your experience. Plus, there's nothing like an ice cold beer at the local pub after you've just completed a 6-hour hike. That being said, one thing that is definitely going to put a downer on your trip if you become ill prepared is if you forget a midgie neck. If there's one thing in Scotland that can turn a serene, tranquil landscape into hell on earth, it is the Highland midgie, a small flying insect with a taste for blood that will gather its mates and wreak havoc on your plans for a relaxing barbecue on the beach. Depending on the time of year you go, you may never encounter these flying little pests, as they are most prevalent through late spring into late summer. However, as a pretty experienced Scotsman myself, I never leave home without a good old midgie net and some pretty strong jungle formula just in case. If you're trying to look to avoid them, then Gemma and I's everybody's favourite time of year to visit the north of Scotland is definitely maybe April or May time, as there's less crowds, the weather tends to be a little bit drier, and the midges might not have woken up yet. Although not officially on the North Coast 500 route, instead of winging it back across to Inverness from Applecross, I'd highly recommend factoring in some time and continue down to the Isle of Skye. This landscape is an absolute photographer's dream, and even if you're not into photography, there's some stunning scenery there for you to hike, including walking up to the infamous Old Man of Storr. It is definitely one of the most breathtaking places in all of Scotland. Whether your weather is clear or a little bit moody, it is for sure to take your breath away. If you are anything like us, then you're sure to have your camera glued to your face pretty much the entire time, and because of that I would suggest bringing extra batteries just in case. We travel with about 7 or 8 spare batteries because we do a lot of vlogging while we're travelling around, but definitely try and pack at least 1 or 2 spares for your camera in case you catch yourself off guard and you forget to charge it one night. Honestly, there's literally so much to capture around the North Coast 500, you're definitely not going to want to run out of batteries to capture those all-important pictures. Also, don't forget to check out our fully detailed and comprehensive guidebook, Destination NC500. I'll leave a little link and a discount code in the description box as well, and we've even just released a fully detailed A1 foldable map for the route. We've spent months working on it. I'm pretty sure it's the most detailed map in the entire market, and you can read more about that in the link down below as well. And while I hope you got something useful out of this video, it's a nice short one, but that is a full list of all of the do's and don'ts that we would recommend for visiting the NC500 in Scotland. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, it lets us know we're doing the right thing. Hit subscribe if you're new around here, and we'll see you again in the next one.